Natalie DenHartog is one of the greatest Gopher softball players in program history. She concludes her prolific career as the leader in career home runs, second in RBIs, second in single-season home runs, not to mention a College World Series appearance and a host of other accolades and awards. So, to wrap up her magnificent Gopher campaign, we go back to the very beginning when she was simply a freshman getting onto campus where she, quote, fully expected to be one of the worst players on the team. Well, it worked out. We also talk about what we referenced earlier, her leading the program in home runs, not to mention a host of other topics, and then Piper Ritter, the Gopher softball head coach, gives us her perspective on what Natalie's legacy is in Gopher softball history. Minnesota native, one of the best to do it. That conversation and more here on this edition of Senior Spotlight.
I had no idea what to expect, and I fully expected to be outmatched. I fully expected to get to practice and be one of the worst people on the team, and that didn't scare me. Like, I was up for the challenge. I was grateful for the opportunity, and I knew I was going to work hard and compete and try to get myself better. I was never part of the big fancy clubs and not huge on social media like you kind of see some high school girls coming up nowadays, which is great, to each their own. But I had no idea what I was walking into.
There's qualities in a hitter that will transition to the next level, and part of it was, she didn't necessarily swing and miss, and she was really, really gritty in the box, and yeah, she had the ability to hit the ball long, but I think there was just a lot more other qualities that made her special, for sure.
And I remember, one of our very first practices, they wanted to just see our swings and get a feel for us, and we were doing front toss, and everybody got 10 pitches, and I remember hitting 9 out of 10 out. And I was one of the first people to swing, and I just thought it was normal. I was oh, okay, I hit 9 out of 10 out. That's kind of fun, and kind of walked away. And I remember the girls and the coaches kind of looking at me check the bat, see, make sure nothing was fishy. And that was the first moment where I was I could play. I could do this. But it's funny you say, your family can be your biggest fans, but you also wonder how much of that is bias, of course, as it should be. And I remember my freshman year, a week into season, and I wasn't playing at the time. I had maybe pinch ran, maybe pinch hit a couple times. And I called my dad and I said, hey, this is a super cool experience. I'm super proud to be wearing this Minnesota jersey right now. But at the end of the season, if you, I need you to be honest with me. And if you don't think I can play at this level, I need you to tell me. I need you to make that commitment to me. And I remember him saying, I believe you can do it, but I promise I'll tell you. And granted, then the season went on, and I think we answered that question without having to ask it again. But there is this kind of balance with any family of wanting to holistically support people and knowing how much honesty to give them in order to help them grow and help them, develop their own perspective. But my family has been huge every single step of the way, and they will continue to be huge in my life, and I definitely wouldn't change that. It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling, and it gives me so much pride being a Minnesota girl who did it at Minnesota. I think that's what makes me feel that emotion, and that makes me feel like it's so meaningful, is that I didn't go to the fancy clubs. I didn't have a hitting coach that we paid for. It was my dad. That was the extent. We didn't pay for anybody like that. My main training facility was the park down the street from my parents' house that didn't have a fence. I did it in the gritty Minnesota way. And that's what brings me pride.
There's a lot of records. There's a lot of records out there. But the fact that a Minnesotan holds it at Minnesota, even though I'm not a Minnesotan, I feel like it's really special. And I like the fact that it's held by a Minnesotan. I think that's, to be honest, regardless of it, I think that's what makes it special.
I have a favorite part from each season. My freshman year, playing in the Women's College World Series on the biggest stage in softball, not much is going to beat that, softball wise. And then you look at my last year here, my 5th year, and I got to kind of assume this role where everyone on the team calls me grandma, and everybody asks me what time practice is at and what uniform are we wearing, and oh Nat, what do I need to pack? Oh Nat, help me write this email to the coach. Oh Nat, help me do this. And I loved it. It was just so such you know, two crazy different from start to end roles and memories that I got to create, and then everything in between there kind of progressing to that. So
they'll remember her obviously by, you know, just the thing that she loves to do is hit, you know, I think, but that she got better every time, and she found a way to put herself in that lineup. You know, she led, you know, she did things the right way, whether even even, you know, in school, you know, she came in, she got her undergrad, she got her master's, and now she's going to law school. So, I mean, I think that Natalie did it all, and I don't think everyone can do it all, but I think you can do it all. Play softball here, compete at the College World Series, and get a degree in whatever you want at Minnesota. And so I think her legacy, along with some other people, kind of just shows you that you can do that.
This has been another edition of Senior Spotlight. My name is Alex Zappa, and thank you as always for tuning in.